Check one. Welcome to the Brothers to Brother podcast. Appreciate y'all listening to the last show. Today we're going to check in with NFL free agency, the NBA playoff chase, and who's the GOAT. We're going to find out today. Brothers to Brother Sports. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for joining us. Give it up for the co-host. We got CT. CT in the house. That's Chris. Brother-in-law Chris.
I love it. They cheering me. Lambo
Leaf, That's what's up. And give it up for Pittsburgh, Trav.
What's up, man? 412.
What's up, man?
Representing 660.
That's what's up. What up? This is the Brother to Brother podcast. My name is Just G. I got CT and Pittsburgh Trav in the house on the phone. We're going to get it together. We're going to do a shared video, working on some apps and some other things. Check out the video on YouTube, Spotify for podcasts, and also YouTube Music. Go to Brother to Brother Sports at youtube.com. Also, Brother to Brother Sports on Spotify. Thank y'all for listening. Thank y'all for subscribing. Those on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Comment. Let us know about the sound, the video quality. Let us know about the comments. Let us know about the jokes. And if you got a subject that you want us to come up with, please let us know. We appreciate everybody who tuned in and listened. And yeah, here we go. We're going today, brothers. How y'all doing today, man? Y'all good?
What's going on, man? We good.
Hey, it's 60 degrees out. It was 60 degrees out here, man. I was loving it.
Bro. Did y'all get them sticks out at all?
I'm right now. I'm in the lab. Shopping.
Well, I'm ready for that first game out, man. For sure. We're ready to see you come out here.
Look at that. Let me stop that. All right, welcome back to the Brother podcast. I had a little stop for the cause, pick up the young man from a school event. Today, we're going to get into NFL free agency. There's some quarterbacks that went on the move. We're going to talk about that. We're going to get into some of the running backs, some of the wide receivers, and just some trends and some people that are out there and our thoughts on what's a good fit and what who would you want for your team, your team's needs, and things like that. First, we're going to touch base on two quarterbacks that's already been set up where to go, and a wide receiver. We're going to start with Matthew Stafford, staying with the Rams. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
Hey, I'll go first. This is CT here. I thought it was a great thing for the Rams to do. I feel like, without his weapons, early in the season they struggled, but when they got Nakua back, and I felt like the Rams were really on a great course, and Stafford is a guy that could. I don't know if there's a guy in the draft that can do what he does. I don't know if there's a guy other than Aaron Rodgers who can do what he does. I think it was smart for them to do that, and maybe they pick up somebody in the draft. I don't know, whatever their pick is, but to me, it made a lot of sense for them to bring him back.
Yeah, I agree. Trav, what's your thoughts on that?
Completely agree, because of the one thing about it is we all see what the potential picks through quarterback position in the draft would be. I think if you pick any of those guys now, you're looking at rebuilding when you have a for sure, quarterback right now. The one thing about it is they were competitive. They could
Yeah,
have went farther in the playoffs than they could, anybody else could have. And when he left Denver to go there, I mean, he was great in Detroit. I mean, when he was in Detroit, he was great in Detroit. Statistically, he had better numbers statistically than any quarterback in the league. Then he went over to the Rams, and he never really had a bad season. So to take a gamble on the guys that are available now, it's not worth it.
yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, they said that out of these guys that are coming through, they said Cam from Miami that he's probably the only one that could start now, and we really don't know that. Um, I think it was a team friendly deal. The Rams have done really well, good coaching, good wide receivers, good with their draft picks, and they've been doing really good managing the cap. Next one I want to get into is Samuel traded for a bag of beans to the Washington Commanders. What do y'all think about that?
I'll go. I thought Debo, the way San Fran used him, I thought it put a lot of mileage on him. I mean, they ran him out of the backfield. They did a lot of, he did a lot of stuff out of the backfield, and that takes a lot of wear and tear on you. I don't think that I'm not sure what Washington gave up for him or whatever, but it's a good signing. But I do think that he's on the tail end of his career. But I also think he can help a team like Washington. But if I were like Green Bay, for example, I would not have brought him in because I don't think he's a number one. I think he's a good piece, but with his injury history, it would be really a risk for me.
Uh, there's two parts to that, in my opinion. Two parts. I think the first part of that is, you know, I believe if you look at Samuel, he's going to bring a veteran presence to an already exciting offense. Nobody knew what that rookie was going to do. And then all of a sudden, the Commanders are competitive. Now you have a veteran. Two, what they had to do to bring Ayuk back to the 49ers, there was no way when Samuel's contract came up that they can keep their team under the cap for what they would have to offer him. So he was going to go somewhere. And he actually had an option to play for an exciting rookie who's going into his second year. And I think next year, I mean, we're talking about Detroit had a chance to get to the Super Bowl. Why not the Commanders?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
And Samuels, he's like a utility knife. He's a Swiss Army knife. He's a running back. He's a tight end and a receiver, all rolled up in one. So what
He
you
was
can do with
the
him?
Swiss Army knives you find in the dirt on the beach someplace. Been
No, I
used up.
mean
I mean, it's still cut,
what
but
what he did as the only receiver when all of the other ones were injured and made the 49ers still relevant, that guy still has something in the tank.
Yeah,
he's got some juice, but he's not that
I,
guy.
He
I
doesn't
think
have to be that guy.
I think it
He's
was a
a
good
he,
pickup.
He's number one.
yeah.
I think it was a good pickup for Washington. They got Scary Terry. They got they had Zach Ertz, but they got good running backs. They got some pieces, and I think he's going to help them a lot. Plus, their running backs are pretty good. I don't think he might do some jet sweeps, but I think him and Scary Terry will look good together, and it would improve their offense a lot. Um,
You know what else he's capable of doing? He's gonna eliminate the middle. He's one of those guys, he's large enough as a receiver that he can run across the middle. You know what I mean? And eliminate that gap so he can create other plays for other players, whether it's in the running game or the tight end play or receiver play.
He could 3 years ago, but he can now. I feel like
I think he can.
he's just another a piece that you could probably replace in the draft. I don't think that he's worth the cost, in my opinion.
yeah, but see, I think right now for Washington's to get pickup because they're not paying nobody anyway.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good pickup. Okay, also
Well, first and
today,
foremost, let me circle one more question about that. Before we sign off on that, we got to also consider the division. We got the Cowboys. We got the only other competitive team in that division is like the Eagles and stuff like that. So, I mean, when you look at the division and a Debo Samuel who played in a better division, I still think when he gets there, he's gonna be very effective. But outside of that, I'm done with that
Yeah, I
on
think
that.
I think he'll fit good. Today, news today, Geno Smith traded to the Raiders, and he's back united with Pete Carroll. What do you think about that trade, and how's that going to improve the Raiders?
I'll go first on that one. I think it's a horrible pick, and the reason why I say that is, and I'm not bashing Geno Smith. Adams left. Their tight end, their what was his name? The really good solid tight end. He's
Brock
gone.
Bowers.
Yeah. So we're looking at a no offensive presence whatsoever. Yeah, the coaching's there, but there's only so much you can do through the draft. I think, they need offensive line help. They need a number one, a number two, and a number three. They need a solid tight end.
They got
They
the
need a
best tight.
running game.
They got arguably the best tight end in the game, Travis.
I
Brock
don't
Bowers.
think so, man, because he's going to have so much pressure on him. Everyone's going to tee off on him.
Yeah.
So if you're not going to get anyone to surround the talent for him, it's not like a running back. A running back can have no offensive line and make something special happen. A receiver, when you can just key on a receiver and shut that one particular player down, you are forced to find other options to win the game. And who does the Raiders have as a name their number one receiver right now?
Well, it was Jacoby Myers, but I'm not sure who they keeping and who they don't.
Yeah. I mean, they're in a kind of rebuild situation
I think
with
they still
a
got
Geno
that.
Smith.
Hey, but those don't slouch on the Raiders, man. The Raiders they
Hold
We'll
play
on.
they
see.
play division
Wait,
tough.
let me just say this.
Yeah, go ahead.
So what I don't understand is, and I think we really need to consider this, is why the Seahawks were a couple of games away from making the playoffs,
Mm-hmm.
right? What level of confidence did they have in Geno to let him go, right? And then what does that mean for the Raiders? So the Seahawks are willing to come off on a playoff, a potential playoff team and let go of their quarterback who's been in their system for a while, right? To let him go to the Raiders for whom? Sam Darnold or a draft choice,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So that tells me a lot about what they thought about Geno Smith, right? And now he's going to the
I
Raiders.
agree.
I'm not a believer, and I think Geno has a lot of talent. He's good, but I just don't think he's the answer. I think the Raiders are a 6-win team. It doesn't move the needle. They'll be in a draft pick. They'll be looking for a quarterback in next year's draft.
Yeah, I agree with that part, but I think Gino is going to improve their team. He's consistent. He's not gonna. I mean, he's made. I think he's made the last two Pro Bowls, even though the Pro Bowl in the NFC is kind of shaky. But he's made the Pro Bowl. He's had the yards. He's had the quarterback rating. They just can't beat the Rams, and they can't beat the 49ers. That's been Gino's problem. But I think that he's going to help the Raiders. The Raiders got some pieces. They got Crosby. They got the kid from Miami. And then I think with Tom Brady's influence as part owner now, I think the Raiders are going to start making. They're going to start. Unfortunately for the Chiefs, they're going to start doing stuff that makes sense. And Gino is kind of like a short term answer, but Gino arguably is better than every quarterback the Raiders had last year. I mean, they
I
had
agree.
Gardner Minshew. They had what the kid
Dude,
O'Connell.
They're 3 years away, Scott.
look,
Let's
Oh
be
yeah, but
real.
I don't think the Raiders
hey,
are trying to win now. I think they just trying to
Pittsburgh
stop.
T. Scott,
But
let me say this. I don't know if it's the best decision to bring a former player, a former
to a
NFL
new system,
championship as the player that's going to manage your operations and manage your draft picks.
I
I,
agree.
I don't think I don't know where that has succeeded in the modern day NFL. Maybe it has. I don't remember it. I feel like that's not a good thing. And
Well,
I've
hopefully
seen
he's better than
Well, the
Michael
last
Jordan.
time it did happen, was Tom Brady going to the Bucks,
yeah,
but
but he
there
was
was a lot of help.
not managing.
It was the defense that got them into the Super Bowl and managing a game with no turnovers.
Yeah, I'm
But
talking
let
about
me just say this.
front office is the same, not the same thing as playing,
I,
and I
I
don't think that that's a great decision.
I would say this. Gino, I would have more confidence in Gino if he went into the same situation as the Eagles. What the Eagles had, because let's be real, uh, you know, on a quarterback level, 167-yard average for 7 straight games, and you win a Super Bowl. You won it because there was balance. You had a 2,000-yard rusher. You know what I mean? And you didn't have to rely on heavy quarterback play. But when it was necessary, you had Hollywood Brown. I mean, you had Brown there, and you had a balance with a good defense and a solid offensive line.
Yeah, but you can't.
Gino is not stepping into that situation
You,
with the Raiders.
yeah, no, but you can't compare the Eagles to the Raiders. I mean, come on
No,
now.
what I'm saying is, where a quarterback wasn't relevant in winning a Super Bowl because he wasn't. I mean, nobody here will say that he was.
Yeah, but we're talking about a Super Bowl. We're talking about. I mean,
But what I'm saying,
the Eagles have won a lot of games, and the Raiders aren't going to win a lot of games.
but what I'm getting at is he's not
He
going
knows not.
into an ideal, favorable position where the Raiders are going to expect great quarterback play out of him immediately.
I don't know why they do that. Unless
Let me
somebody
give y'all a
comes.
question real quick, and just quick answers. Do you think Gino is just as good or better than Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins, Russell Wilson, or Justin Fields?
I think he's better than Justin Fields and half the people on that list. But
I
he's
think
not
he's
going
better
into their
than
situation.
Cousin. No, I don't know if he's better than Cousins. I think he's on
I said
par.
half. I don't think
And
Now
he's better than
Cousins,
Kevin.
now Gino made
I
a
think
playoff
he's
run
less
when
than.
Cousins lost 5 games straight, threw 1 touchdown, and had 9 interceptions.
But who did he have? He had DK and Metcalf. He had a pretty decent running game. He had an offensive line and a solid defense.
Are you
He
saying
doesn't
Kirk
have.
Cousins didn't have a good team around him?
Kirk Cousins did too. I'm not disputing that. I'm talking about the situation Gino left to the situation he's going into. You know what I mean? So, and they're saying that Steelers are trying to. They're talking to Sam Darnold right now. Now that's a smart move. And if they were to land Sam Donald, I think we would be in a better position.
If the Steelers pay Sam Donald, I'll be amazed because
Hey,
they
57 million, $59 million. I think that's
He
a
plays like
feasible
one
deal.
year of work. 1 year of success in a system where the defense really dominated. But he has some success. There's a risk there, but I understand why the Steelers would do it.
Well, because they don't need him to win the game. They have a running game. They got a solid defense. If they can draft a pretty decent receiver, that would be a smart move. That would be a better situation than the situation Dino's going into.
I think we're gonna be. We'll talk about it next year, but I think we'll be surprised with the Raiders. Let's get in real quick. Running backs: Aaron Jones, Dowell, Najee, J.K. Dobbins, Nick Chubbs. Some of those guys coming off injuries. What do you think? Is the running backs are back? I mean, Saquon just got big money. Can any of these guys make a difference on the team?
Absolutely. Nick Chubb's most underrated running back out of all of that category, in
Yeah,
my opinion.
yeah, injured, but
And
he
he's
he
in our
did pretty
division.
good the last few games.
Yeah. And so, I mean, Chubbs is probably the most viable one out of all of that, the most
Yeah.
credible one. He had a Curtis Martin type career. Curtis Martin wasn't that guy when you say, hey, he's a Hall of Fame nominee. And then you look at the numbers and how he made his team better. Chubb's that guy. He's under the radar. He's not a flashy guy like a Barry Sanders. I do think whoever he goes to, he'll make an immediate impact,
Yeah, I agree.
despite of the injury.
Chris,
Uh,
CT, what do you think about Aaron Jones? He still got some gas left.
oh yeah, you could tell based on fun last year. Now he's a little injury prone, but when he was on the field for Minnesota, they were highly effective. In fact, I think he was one of Sam Darnold's comfort zones. They knew, and the coach knew that they could always go to Aaron to get those tough yards. Now he's not your guy that's going to get 20 something carries a game, but he's a guy that's a guy that you can get the ball to in the passing game, and he can break runs, and he can be an effective piece. So it's a free agent piece. I think that he's not a Nick Chubb level, but he's probably just second to that. And I think the Minnesota would be probably smart to probably try and re-sign him.
Okay, let's get into
Oh,
the wide receivers. Question is, are any of these guys, Devontae Adams, Chris Godwin, Amari Cooper, Stephon Diggs, Hollywood Brown, are any of these guys worth taking the chance? But you're gonna have to pay them 20 million. What are your thoughts?
I'd say Devontae.
absolutely. But
I feel like
And three of these
top
guys
the,
are
the
injured.
top guy there, even though he's older, is Devontae. And I talked to Pittsburgh Trav off this online earlier, and what I think that he brings is the ability just to simply get open. And so he's kind of your teddy bear for your quarterback. Like if you got a rookie, if you're a Geno Smith, you got or not necessarily a rookie, you got somebody you know that he's going to be where he needs to be, and he's going to be open when you look his way. You know what I mean? If he's not, your second read is going to be wide open because they had to push that coverage over to him. He's a guy even at his age that still can get open. I think he's worth every bit of the money, and I think that the Packers, in my opinion, would be they should go after him because he's a guy that's going to be able to get open. Does he have that straight line speed? Does he have none? No, he doesn't. But he can just simply get open, right? Because of his three cone, because of his short bursts, all that stuff. That's the most important thing for a quarterback. So Chris Godwin, he's a good player. I think he's coming off an ACL. And who was the other player you said?
The
Brown,
the the guys that are injured are Stephon Diggs,
Yeah,
Chris Godwin, and Hollywood Brown. Which one of
Hollywood
those
Brown.
guys, even though they
I,
were injured, which one would you roll with? Now these guys they're coming off injuries, but Hollywood I can tell you will have fresh legs. And then
right.
Amari Cooper, he just solid, one of the best route runners in the game. But like I said, all these guys gonna want at least 20.
Yeah, I'm not saying that Cooper is low on my list. I wouldn't really get him. Brown, the same thing. Uh, Godwin, I'm concerned about the ACL. I think my top guy is Devontae Adams. The dude's durable. He's strong. He doesn't block as good, but he gets open, and I think he understands. He's your. I think if you want to for a quarterback, if you want a best friend, he's that dude.
Yeah.
He's that dude. He's that
uh-huh.
dude that you know what? If I throw a 10 yard out, if I need to do a slant, he's going to be there.
Yeah.
So Godwin is good, but man, the injury concerns is just too much out there for me. And the other Brown is okay. He's good. I don't know. He's with Philadelphia. So I don't know if he's gonna. They're gonna. Maybe they resign him. So
I'm picking Brown, and I'll tell you why I picked Brown. Brown, in a lot of ways, reminds me of Heinz Ward, the yak yards. You can throw a little five and out, and he'll turn into a 40 or 60 yard play. I mean, he still has that ability to do so, and he has this season. I mean, it wasn't all Saquon Barkley. When he was healthy and playing, they were throwing little, in skinny posts inside, and he just made them into big plays. He blocks well. He's not a Heinz Ward level blocker, but the guy can block. He's just an all around threat. He runs a great solid route. And out of all of the other ones, the other one that I would say possibly has better intangibles would probably be uh dang, what's his name?
What
You
team?
just mentioned. For the Texans, but he got injured. but he came from Buffalo. Uh,
Diggs.
yeah, Stephon Diggs,
Yeah.
because Stephon Diggs is the same way. Look, so one thing about it is you can say, because Stephon Diggs was great with his first team, great with his second team. Gets to the Texans, he does great with them too. I mean, so it's not the scheme, it's not the offensive coordinator. It's just his ability and his talents to go to three different teams and dominate it on three different
Yeah,
teams.
but he got a
You're
bad
you're
he
a
got a
pro.
bad name because he's kind of like your boy Pickens, that they kind of divas, where
It
it's
doesn't
all
matter.
about them, and they want to make sure I get my ball and all that. It's not about winning. So that's kind of the knock on him.
So,
Um,
do you know how hard it is to move in three different divisions and dominate in three? And it's not you know who else did that? The only other player that I can think of in NFL history to do so, T.O. As much as they hated on that guy, he went to the Eagles, the 49ers, the Cowboys, and in each season, he's Hall of Fame caliber. So he proved that it wasn't the team he went to, how they were stats or not. And
yeah,
I
I
think
mean,
Stephon Diggs is the same way.
I can see that, but I think Devontae can do the same thing. Why Devontae didn't, ball out in the Jets, because they just have horrible quarterback play until Aaron Rodgers finally got up to speed where he was healthy enough. Real quick, let's get into some free agent linemen. We got Josh Sweat from the Super Bowl champions. We got Khalil Mack out there. We got Joey Bosa out there talking about wanting to play with his brother. We got Hassan Riddick. I mean, and then we got your boy, two of them. Um, I lost his name
Miles
that
Garrett,
fast. Miles Garrett, and then what's his name from Cincinnati? They want to be
Hendricks,
traded.
Trey
Hendrickson.
Hendricks.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
want to be traded. So out of those guys, I mean, where do y'all see Sweat going? Because Sweat's gonna get paid, and then Khalil Mack still should get paid, and then Joey Bosa just wants to play for somebody because he's got to work for his money.
Well,
Yeah.
Sweat is a free agent, so that impacts things. And also, what's his name? Milton Williams from who I think is a defensive tackle from Pittsburgh, the Eagles,
Mm-hmm.
is a more impactful player than Sweat. So they have two free agents that are out there. Uh, and then I think the other two players are Miles Garrett and Trey Hendrickson, who are basically all world talents. You're going to have to give up either a first or a second in some draft pick to draft year to get them.
And
But there are other.
and
Go
it's
ahead.
gonna cost you 100 million because the Raiders just gave Crosby 100 million.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me put this in perspective. Okay, we're talking about Michael Parsons, who's one of the most dominant players now.
Is he a free agent?
No, but what I'm getting at is for the comparison level. In a 3 year span, he had 39 sacks. So to compare him with a 3 year span, you know who's number one in sacks in that 3 years? 44 goes to Miles Garrett. He
Yeah,
had 44. You know who's second? The one we're talking about in Cincinnati.
yeah.
Third, Michael Parsons. So if I'm picking, I'm still saying, because one thing about a defensive lineman or defensive edge rusher, just like our guy Reggie White, who's in my opinion the greatest edge rusher in NFL history. So this guy, 14 seasons in, 15 seasons in, he's still relevant. The greatest thing about those positions, those guys are going to be great all the way up almost to the career. Haley, when he played for the 49ers, then he went to the Cowboys and won 5 Super Bowl. He was relevant those 10 or 12 years he played. So that position is just a unique position because even when you lose the speed, you don't lose the power, you don't lose the technique. So I
Yeah,
would say I would
but
pick a
the thing
Miles Garrett.
is, who can pay him
Miles Garrett.
35 million a year? Because
There's a lot of
that's
teams
what
that
they're
will
gonna
be
get.
willing to do that.
No, but
Well,
who has
there's not.
35
There's
million? That's
no
what I'm saying.
team.
Because
Miles
there's
Miles
teams that
Garrett
need it.
Miles Garrett and Hendrickson want to play for a contender, and
And they
contenders
don't care
are
about money.
Yeah, they're
because
hamstrung.
of
They can't pay those big. They can't pay those big contracts.
well,
So
if that's the case, the Browns have the money, they have the cap, they would have kept him.
No,
so
the
here's the
With
Browns.
an
thing.
The Browns
underdog.
already said
So
they're not trading him for a bag of beans. So the Browns already said that they don't want to trade him.
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
He's meeting with the general manager right now. Or tomorrow, they said.
Yeah, I don't think they want to trade him, but he wants to go. But whoever gets him, you got to give up at least one first round pick. You got to
Well, they're
give
gonna
up.
put the cap on him.
You got to give up
And then they're
twenty.
gonna
you gotta sign them, number one, to a multi-year deal,
Correct.
but you also have to give up significant draft
or
cap,
you cap him.
right? So
Oh,
with
you can't
Garrett,
cap
you're
him.
looking at a one.
Why not?
You're looking at a
He's
one.
a
It's
free
not
agent.
Who
who?
is?
Garrett. Not free agent, but you can cap him. If you decide you're gonna put a cap amount on him
No,
You mean
no.
that you're
franchise
willing
him?
He
to
won't go.
pay,
No. He.
Franchise him?
Yeah, he ain't
he'll
gonna go.
his only option would be sit out the season,
No, he
and
ain't gonna
he's
go
not gonna
nowhere.
do that.
Yeah,
He's not gonna go nowhere. That's gonna. If you're not gonna sign him, you're not even in the conversation.
yeah,
Yeah, if you're not gonna pay whatever the Browns are willing to pay him, you're not gonna make it.
yeah.
And I think that's what because they said the general manager requested a conference with him, only him. He doesn't want to even talk to his agent. He wants to see Miles Garrett. So I think they're going to probably negotiate. Hey, if you're not going to play with us, we're going to put a cap on
No,
you.
but see, this is. If, let me know if I'm wrong. Miles Garrett's problem is not the money.
He
His
doesn't want to play for the man. He wants to be with a contender.
correct, but he makes a lot of money. He's not going to be able to go to a contender. I can think now if he's smart, he would go somewhere like Washington because they have the money and they're good. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But who else has the money and good? It's not now what New England has like 100 million, but who wants to play for them?
They're bums. Now they are. But I think, honestly, I think the only teams in his conversation is if the Eagles let go through free agency their defensive lineman, then he's going to try to slide in with a team
Man,
that they know that they're ready to contend with.
man, if
Right
And
now,
I
he'd be
don't think
willing to take less.
The Eagles ain't even in that conversation. If they can't pay
wait,
Sweat,
wait, wait, wait,
I
wait.
said he would be
When?
willing to sign with somebody like
Hold
that.
on, hold on. When does free agency begin?
it's
Now, I mean,
it's
they're talking
March.
about trades
Is
now.
it
Monday.
15th? Is it
Yeah, they're talking. So you have to
it
have it before the trade. I mean,
is it
before the
next
draft.
Tuesday?
Right.
It's coming up.
Yeah,
That was Monday or
yeah.
Tuesday,
It's
right?
Tuesday. It's
They
always
call
like
it
2 weeks before the
what they call it
draft.
legal tampering, basically, where you can
Yeah, but
start
it's
talking to
always
people, but you can't sign them until such and such date.
like 2 weeks before the draft. I think
Yeah,
it's like 2 weeks before the draft.
yeah.
So that's why they're saying teams are in discussions or chatting about projections
So,
of where players will
so
go,
who's
but
going?
they can't make an
What
official
team
offer.
is going to make a blockbuster offer for either Hendricks or Garrett?
In my opinion, the only ones that I can see, but he won't want to play for, is the Cowboys because they look at Micah Parsons
Yeah.
and they feel like you know what,
They don't spend money though.
Jerry,
They do not
Jerry,
spend money.
Jerry doesn't.
Nope.
Jerry, they paid Dion, they
No,
paid
no, no. We talking about now. We talking about now. Let me give you the numbers,
Wait,
okay?
wait, wait, wait.
Look. We got Dax making 60, and then we got Cooper's making 35. That's almost 100 million right there. And
But
if they
listen,
give
but
if
If
what did they just
Cleveland,
pay Micah Parsons, who was talking about
yeah, he's gonna
renegotiating before the season was over?
here's my prediction. If Cleveland is and Cincinnati are willing to take a second round pick, they're both gone because I would give a second round pick and a
And
third
a bunch
and
of money.
yeah, I don't those
and
guys are first round picks. There's no end
right.
if unless
Look,
you
look, look.
unless you
When
trade
I'm
a
you
player.
know what? I don't know if I'm gonna give a first round. Maybe I would elevate that if, for example, I'm being outbid by
but
Pittsburgh, who has a higher second round pick than me. You know what I mean?
Chris, let me say this.
Maybe I give that number one, right? For Hendricks or for Garrett. Uh,
Well, let me say this. Where I agree with Scott on is this. So let's say hypothetically the numbers for the position to put you in the Hall of Fame is 100 because that is the standard to get in the Hall of Fame with 100 sacks. We are talking about players, two players that got over 40 sacks in 3 years. So they are almost Hall of Fame numbers just in a 3 year span.
Yeah.
And they've been in the league longer than that.
Yeah, but they want
That's
35.
phenomenal.
They want 35 million a year.
And they will get it because to me, they're producing more than anybody that will come in off the draft. No one's going to get
Yeah.
Who's gonna
14
pay it
sacks
though?
in a season.
Who's gonna
Yeah.
pay it?
There's no player in this year's draft that's going to be worth a number one pick. Like if you were to get,
There's nobody.
yeah, there's nobody. Like
The
if you
You're going
kid,
to
the
come in
kid
and
from
get
Penn
14
State.
sacks.
you're not going to get
Don't
that
matter.
value.
Does not
You're
matter.
not going to get the years, and maybe
No.
there's upside for a young player that could become that, but you're not banking on that. If you're really, if you're
You want the for
Green
sure
Bay,
thing.
if you're Green Bay, who's like, okay, I don't. My Achilles heel last year was being able to put pressure on the quarterback, and I had Rashawn Gary, I had Kenny Clark, and I had those guys, and they couldn't do it. I need a guy that's going to give those guys one-on-one coverage. I need a guy that's going to draw the attention of the offense. That's a Myles Garrett. That's a Trey Hendrickson. So if I had a number one pick this year, and there is nobody in the draft
Not
that you could be
at
like,
those
that's going to
levels.
do that. There's nobody
Nobody.
Yeah.
do it.
I agree.
Now, am I willing to give them multiple picks? Probably not.
No. For the top three on that list that are free agents, because like I said, Michael Parsons, he's basically threatening the Cowboys. If you don't pay me, I'm gone. So let's say this. Michael Parsons has a potential to leave too. Because if Scott's right about the Cowboys not want to pay their players, the reality is without a Michael Parsons, the Cowboys are even worse than they were last year because
Yeah,
defense really kept them in games.
I believe the Cowboys are gonna pay him. I believe they're gonna pay him.
Oh yeah,
It just
they're gonna have to.
they're not gonna have much else.
Yeah. Now, who I think they'll try to negotiate a deal with in a couple years, Dak, because they were not happy with his play. And then when he got injured and the comments that Jerry Jones had made about him, I think his longevity with the Cowboys probably nil to none. I think when they have an opportunity that better suits them and they see somebody that they might want in the draft, they will be willing to give up a first round pick and some serious capital to get another quarterback. But I do think Dak's numbers or his time is numbered in Dallas. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Last segment. We're gonna talk about your team. For this is the last segment of the NFL. Your team. What do they need, and what do you want for them? Just real quick. Chris, start with the Packers. What do the Packers needs and wants?
Packers need two things. They need pass rush. Interior pass rush would be great, but edge is even better. So I feel like if they're like looking at their entire season, if they were able to get to the quarterback, they able to affect the game, kind of like Philadelphia did against the Chiefs. That you can get pressure, get them off their mark. You're going to have success because they're going to throw off schedule plays. They're going to make mistakes, and that's going to make your secondary, which is in Green Bay, which is also a weakness in Green Bay because they're going to lose Jair Alexander. He's requested a trade. They have Keyshawn Nixon and they have Carrington Valentine at corner. Carrington Valentine was like a 7th round pick. So he has weaknesses. They're weak on the backside. So for them, pass rush. They need pass rush. So my guys with Josh Sweat from Philadelphia and what's his name, Milton Williams are great
options for them. They're not great against the run, but they're good pass rushers. They need that. That helps your whole defense. In this league right now, if you can get to it's a pass happy league. You got to get to the quarterback, right? You can give up the run yards, right? You want them to run the ball. You don't want them to throw the ball. So my opinion is the Packers are going to seek out pass rushers and interior defensive line and edge rushers in the draft, and then cornerback later. Trav, what do you think, bro?
I agree with everything you said, man. Because like this year, the thing about it is the shock value was gone after Love's rookie year. I mean, they kind of understood what they were looking at with the Packers. Injuries hurt, but all in all, I think, what killed them is not the offense. I think they had great offensive play, but they do need that edge rusher. But as far as my team's concerned, I like the projective decisions that they're making. If they really truly go after Donald and they lose less capital on a move like him, where the cap space is still favorable and we're not exhausting a lot, sort of like we did last year with Fields and Russell Wilson for what $2.5 million for both for a whole season. If we can do something favorable like that, they're projecting that Najee Harris is going to be traded so we can get some kind of capital for him, either a second round pick plus some money. And they already have a projective guy from Tennessee, the running back that they have from Tennessee, being drafted late in a 21st pick of the draft. So with us bringing in a running back, still having about 40 or $50 million, if we can get Donald for a reasonable price, we can build get a quarterback through the draft, possibly go after a veteran on the D line
So
or maybe the
so so
offensive
so
lineman.
Pittsburgh Trav, you the GM, you are now the GM of the Steelers. Who do you want for your quarterback?
I'm cool with Donald because here's the one thing about the Steelers. The Steelers can plug in anyone pretty much for that position as long as turnovers aren't a factor. Because they get to, and honestly, I didn't think Wilson had enough in her tank to do anything. But what I'm getting at is we make a favorable trade for Donald. If that really falls out. And they're also trying to bring in DK Metcalf,
You
right?
don't you
So
don't
they
you don't
can
have to
really.
trade for Donald. You can just pay him. But it's gonna cost you.
No, I'm talking about the trade value is coming from Najee Harris, so we can
Najee's
go
free.
after it.
Check that,
No, no,
Chris.
no, no,
CT,
no,
Najee's
no.
free. Check that.
Well, yeah, but we're gonna release him. We're not gonna pay him
He's
because
no. What I'm saying, he
he's
is
a
a free agent.
yeah. We're not gonna pay him.
You're not
They're
gonna get
projecting
no
to release
trade
him.
for him or nothing. He's free.
No, but they're projecting to release him. But what I'm saying, the trade is for Justin Fields. They're talking about getting rid of Justin Field, looking for the draft towards a backup, and they're actually
Uh,
attempting to go after a Donald.
Here's my
you can
prediction.
check that too because Justin's free too. These guys are
Here,
I
here,
didn't
free.
think Justin Field
here,
was.
here,
I know Russell
let
Wilson
me say
is. We
this. Let
signed
me
him
say
to a
this.
1 year deal.
Let me say this. Here's my prediction. Here's my prediction. If they lose out on Sam Darnold, Justin Fields is the quarterback.
I agree with that.
I agree.
And there is no other guy they're gonna get as there. This is a week. There's two good players maybe in this draft for quarterbacks, and the rest are just kind of marginal. There's no other player that they're gonna go with. So if they sign Justin Fields, I feel like they go with either cornerback in the draft or interior defensive line. That's my
Because the national championship game, I wasn't impressed with that at all.
yeah.
I didn't think any of those quarterbacks in that was NFL ready.
Yeah,
I really didn't.
they're
I
not.
mean,
Yeah,
and the college game is so different.
Yeah, only one
Throwing
I've
up
heard is
50.
Cam.
Yeah, but even with that, I think it's going to take like maybe a 2 or 3 year growth span for him
here's
to
the
be
thing.
relevant.
If they go with Fields, Pittsburgh is Pittsburgh in a rebuilding year? Is
No, and I
Tomlin
think what
is
they're thinking
Tomlin
about.
up on the line after that? Because it might be.
I think with
Well, here's the
Pittsburgh's
problem.
defense, I think if they get a quarterback, then just hike the ball, hand it off, and dink and dunk down the field. I think they can still win 8 games. So
8 games. They've been averaging 10-game seasons,
right. But
even
I'm
with
saying
three
that
different quarterbacks.
I'm saying that they would really have to fall off a lot for them to get out of the playoffs.
The problem with Pittsburgh is this: we don't rebuild. We build. Listen, we have great coaches, and to the detrimental overall well-being of the team, we historically have teams or coaches that will get you to the playoffs. But the problem with that is, of those playoff appearances, now we drop way down in the draft. So when we have a quarterback, that once in a generational quarterback, we can't replace him because there's nobody that, you know, we can get on the 21st, the 22nd, or 23rd pick. You're just not going to get a number one
What was
quarterback that deep
Burger pick?
unless you're giving. Roethlisberger was the first round because Bill
The pick?
Cowher's last year was horrible. He only won like 6 games or seven
No,
games
but
his
when was
last
he
year.
picked?
Now
He was
now
picked
don't
in
forget don't forget Brock Purdy was the
2000.
last pick in the draft.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what? The
What was
situation
it?
with Purdy,
He was like 20, or he was in the
it
20s.
was no, he was 2002 or three.
When in the draft was he picked?
Oh,
Who?
he was first over. He was like third or fourth
No.
overall.
Was
We
he
only won seven
first?
seasons.
Like 17?
Yeah, we only won seven seasons that year before we got him
Mm.
because Bill Cowher had a terrible season. That was the first time we missed the playoffs under Bill Cowher. And then, we had him and he won 13 straight games and lost in the playoffs. So, with that being said, that's more of my point. In Roethlisberger, until the later part of his career, all they ever needed him to do was manage the game, not turn over the ball. He had Jerome Bettis. He had some powerhouses that were behind him.
Yep.
Well,
So
Scott,
And that
so
has been our elements all the way up
Scott,
to now.
I'm gonna ask you a question now. So we talked about Pittsburgh, we talked about Packers. What about the Chiefs?
Absolutely.
the
What
Chiefs, the Chiefs, I'll tell you, the Chiefs, they hurt because they need a whole new offensive line. They already traded away one of the older guys, but I think one of the problems really going to hurt them is they're going to lose Nick Bolton because there's no way they can afford to pay him $20 million, the linebacker from
Agreed.
Missouri, and then Justin Reed, the safety, they're going to lose him too because again they can't pay these guys.
You know who screwed him though?
What's
Chris
that?
Who?
Johnson.
Who?
Your defensive end.
Oh yeah.
Johnson. If he wasn't so greedy in the regular season, refusing to play those 3 games until they came to a negotiation. I think that was a douche move. I think he should have waited to the end of the season to
No, no, no.
renegotiate a
Come on
contract.
now. Chris Jones deserved his money. He had to get
He
money.
deserved his money, but what I'm saying is, you were talking about how the Chiefs are team friendly. Everyone's going to negotiate their deals because
No, 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 no,
they're
no. I
bigger
said the ones that
picture.
I said those guys that have money. See, if you look, Chris Jones ain't on State Farm commercials. He ain't, kicking it with Taylor Swift. Those guys that got good commercial success and like what's his name? Kelsey got this $100 million podcast. Those guys gonna take pay cuts. It's like Tom Brady. But
But
Chris Jones, these guys ain't been getting paid, and now it's time to pay up. That
But
it,
what I'm saying is,
Scott,
Travis
yeah,
Kelsey
Scott.
has
yep.
historically been the most underpaid
Just
tight
speak.
end for the numbers.
Who do the Chiefs draft in the draft?
Well, let me tell you what. When you're in a position like the Chiefs, you're gonna take the best player available, and their needs. They need offensive line, guard. Or they definitely need a tackle. But if they don't get a tackle, they'll get a guard, and then they'll look for wide receivers that can play right now for cheap because they can't afford to pay anybody. I think the Chiefs got like $1 million after Mahomes redoes his contract. After Kelsey redone their contract, they'll
Yeah.
probably free up about $15 million, and they'll probably nickel and dime some people. But they already used the franchise tag on the lineman, so there is no franchise tag. So the Chiefs, they stuck with who they have, and they just need to find some cheap veteran wide receivers to go with the ones they have and just hope their draft picks work out. And and the Chiefs have done really well with their draft picks.
I
Chiefs are on
agree.
the downturn.
Yep. So
They're
I
going to be in the championship game next year. That's
championship.
my prediction.
You know what?
Here
I'll be
we go.
honest with you. I'll be honest with you. I'm not gonna say that about them for one reason. I think they're in a unique situation. They have Worthy for 4 more years before we even discuss another option. I think everybody sees the writing on the wall with Travis Kelsey's career. Everyone knows after this end of his career contract deal, he is not going to try to renegotiate. He already said the Super Bowl left a bad taste in his mouth. What typically happens with players like that, everybody wants to see him get back so he can have a better game than he did in the last Super Bowl. I'm not saying Super Bowl, but I am definitely saying deep in the playoffs because they're going to do it for Travis Kelsey. Because they all sense that it's probably going to be his last year.
I think the Chiefs will be back. I mean, I'm a homer, but I still think that the Chiefs will be back just based on Mahomes, Andy Reid, and I think because of the way the AFC is, all they got to worry about is those 3-4 teams. That's it, and I don't think they have to worry about anybody in their division. You know, they don't have to worry about anybody. Now the tough games will be in the North and then Buffalo. But other than that, I don't think they got to worry about anybody else. So I think the Chiefs will be back. Okay, so now, guys, let's get
But
into
but
the.
but wait, let's go back to this. Let's circle this wagon. Now we all discussed one thing. The only possibility that Chris is going to be absolutely right on this thing is if we don't have a solid offensive line. Because like I told you before, if you look at his numbers under pressure, he is the worst quarterback in the NFL
Fair
when
enough.
it comes to
What's
turnovers
But
and
what's the
stuff like
thing?
that.
but how
So if
did he
they
win
can't
15
secure
games then?
but if they can't secure a solid offensive line and viable protection this year and can't keep some kind of protection to Patrick Mahomes this year, I think they are really going to struggle to
Uh,
get back to the
the
Super
Chiefs,
To
Bowl.
answer your
the
question,
Chiefs are
Scott.
going to win 12 games. I guarantee it right now.
To answer your question, Scott,
Yep.
they won
Well,
the number of games they won because of Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
He is a generational talent, and that's why. And the
mm-hmm.
relationship between Mahomes and Travis Kelsey. I mean, they know, like he was his comfort guy, right?
Yep.
And they were able to put guys in just random dudes in the wide receiver,
Yep.
veterans, blah blah blah, and he was able to make that work. But the reason why they won was number one, Patrick Mahomes. Number two was a lot of luck. I mean,
Oh, most
Yeah,
definitely.
6
But
games could have went
but
either
but
yeah,
direction.
I
but
mean they
also
won.
people
You got
forget.
dominating teams.
Also, people forget only 2 teams scored over 30 points on the Chiefs. That was Buffalo and that fluke, that Denver game that they just basically gave away.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
Think about it. If I told you right now, the Packers, nobody's gonna score over 20 points on the Packers. How many games you think the Packers gonna win?
The same amount of games they won.
You know,
I mean,
you know what I'm
Well,
saying?
here's the thing, though. Here's the thing, though. Let's say this too. Okay, this is another element that you have to really strongly consider. The only team that has nothing to worry about out of all three of our teams, the Green Bay Packers, because a lot of those guys are still under that first year contract deal. They're not really up to negotiations. But however, when you look on the defensive side of the Chiefs game, after what you guys did with Chris Jones, who deservingly got that, you have people beyond that 5 year
Yeah.
mark that you have to figure out how you're going to sign them.
We're not
Yeah.
So
signing
what
them.
I think
You know what?
how.
We're not
No,
signing them.
Not,
Trev, let me
but
say this.
what I'm saying is
They do it.
you can't draft a whole
Yeah.
defense.
No. You get
That
veterans.
philosophy works. I agree
But
with you, Trav. I think Pittsburgh has the same philosophy: is develop players, get them on those cheap contracts, right?
and right before it's time for them to go, get rid of them.
Get rid of
Except for the ones that are
them.
very valuable.
It is a recipe for competitiveness it's not a recipe for
championships.
championships, right?
Yeah.
You need an all-world difference maker.
Mhm.
That's why Pittsburgh has been in the middle and Green Bay's been in the middle. It's hard to get over the hump. You got to get lucky on a guy like a
Yeah.
Max Crosby, like a Trey Hendrickson. You got to get lucky on a dude, and that's what they're trying to do. And I agree with that approach. I wouldn't say spend a bunch of money on a premium pick like a premium free agent like Miles Garrett because you're gonna sacrifice your future success because
Absolutely.
yeah, I don't agree with that. So you just got to get lucky, and that's why I love the NFL. It is parity. It is, you know what? Maybe this team got lucky. Maybe they found a dude that
Yep.
has
A
some
diamond in the rough.
diamond.
If
Yeah,
if
maybe
if
go ahead, Scott.
if I was gonna say if more teams got the quarterback right, there would be so much parity in the NFL. I mean, you talking about any given Sunday. I
But
mean,
Yeah.
something crazy
So,
like
Scott.
like Travis was talking about the salary cap.
Yeah.
One crazy thing I thought of. I hate the fact that there's good quarterbacks. I mean, decent game managers,
wait for it,
guys
Chris.
that can take care, and they on bad teams just sitting on the bench. And I wish that
You know
if
why?
I wish
Because
that
they
if you
picked the
wasn't a
best
starter,
available player.
I think
Scott.
if you wasn't a starter, you should be able to go
Judge,
play wherever who's willing to take a chance on you and pay you. I hate the fact that these backup players are just sitting there. Give them an opportunity to go play somewhere else, and it never happens.
so who
Because they were former number one picks,
hey,
and because they were the best available
Hey,
player, they were stuck behind a good quarterback.
who did the Chiefs trade or who did they draft in the first round? Because they're not going to be a player in free.
I'm trying to think who I heard. I can tell you who players out that they've been talking about. They've been talking about offensive line, and they've been talking about wide receivers.
Yeah, because I think you have a pretty decent tight end for the future. You guys drafted a pretty decent tight end, Travis Kelsey, and he picked up part of what was it, number 41 or whatever for your team. He picked up a lot of the pressure and weight off of Travis Kelsey because he had an inferior year. He did not play
I
up
think
to the
out of the
standards
Chiefs
he
tight
said.
end, I think Noah Gray outplayed Kelsey this year.
That's what I'm saying. You guys did well in replacing him now because he still had 2 years on a contract, and you wanted to see if he was going to be that one generational player. And I think you guys have somebody who's not as good as Kelsey, but who will keep the offensive, flowing.
But
do it.